They didn't sparkle. They didn't fear garlic. And in 16th century Germany, they didn't even know the word vampire. They called them something else. The Untote, the undead. Souls that refused to stay buried, blamed for plague, famine, and nights of restless terror. Tonight, we open the churchyard gates and walk into Germany's forgotten vampire trials. Real cases, real documents, and the truth behind the fear you're buried alive. Germany's forgotten vampires. The real Untote.
I am bored, what should I do? Ich weiß, get Germanized.
Chapter 1. The fear beneath the soil. Long before Bram Stoker, before Transylvania became a brand, Central Europe already knew the nightmare of the undead. In Germany they were called Nachzehrer, literally after-eaters. It was believed that certain corpses continued to chew through their burial shrouds, or even their own flesh, spreading plague with every bite. Villagers swore they had heard muffled chewing beneath the earth. So they dug, and what they found fed the terror. Corpses bloated from decay, blood at the mouth, nails still red. To them this wasn't decomposition. It was proof the dead were feeding. Chapter 2. The case of the Nachzehrer of Leipzig. In Leipzig around 1572, city records describe an exhumation during a deadly plague. The townsfolk accused a recently buried man of eating his skin from the grave. When the coffin was opened, his mouth was red with blood and his shroud chewed to rags. A priest declared, "He has eaten through the cloth, and thus through the living." The villagers beheaded the corpse, burned the remains, and buried the ashes outside consecrated ground. But here's the twist. No crime was committed by the living. This was an official investigation, recorded by clergy and local officials. A medieval vampire trial. Fraß sein Leichentuch und also die Seelen derer, die noch lebten. He devoured his shroud and thereby the souls of the living. Chapter 3. The Untote of Lübeck. Up north in Lübeck, chroniclers tell of an Untoter who returned nightly to haunt his family home. Cattle died, a baby sickened. The grave was opened and again, signs of movement, skin still pink, lips wet. The city council ordered a ritual called Entleibung, literally disbodying. The corpse's head was removed and a stake driven through its heart. Salt and vinegar were poured into the grave. It sounds theatrical, but this was recorded in the town register of 1591, signed and sealed. Fear of contagion and spiritual corruption blurred into one. Medicine couldn't explain the plague, so myth became medicine. Chapter 4. The science of the undead. We know today what they didn't. Bodies swell after death. Gas pushes blood through the mouth. Nails and hair appear to grow, and shrouds rot near the mouth faster, looking chewed. But to 16th century eyes, these were not natural signs of decay. They were evidence of hunger from beyond the grave. And once that fear takes hold, logic decomposes as quickly as flesh. Chapter 5. The Nachzehrer of Bavaria. In Bavaria, one of the last recorded vampire hunts took place around 1600. Villagers blamed an epidemic on a shepherd who had died weeks earlier. They dug him up, found the same signs, and silenced him with iron spikes. Local legend says his cries echoed as they struck. The priest's record ends with one sentence. Und es ward still. And then it was quiet. Chapter 6. Church versus superstition. The church tried to walk a fine line, condemning superstition but unable to calm the panic. In some regions, priests secretly allowed these exhumations to restore peace. Elsewhere, they preached that it was satanic delusion, that fear itself was the real infection. But whether through faith or fire, the same ritual repeated across centuries. Open the grave, look for blood, burn what you find. Chapter 7. The last vampire of Germany. By the 1700s, reports of Nachzehrer began to fade, replaced by the imported word vampire. The last German case often cited is from Silesia, 1750. An old woman accused of haunting her neighbors after death. The villagers dug her up, her body preserved by cold earth looked too alive. They drove a nail through her skull. The pestilence stopped soon after. Coincidence? Or the kind of story a terrified community tells to make sense of survival? Chapter 8. Blood and Belief. Germany's vampire stories rarely mention blood drinking or immortal romance. They speak of fear. Fear of death, disease, and what might crawl back from both. To the villagers, the Untote wasn't a monster. It was a mirror, a reflection of their own unanswered dread. Maybe that's why the stories still breathe. They were never about the dead at all. They were about us, the living, trying to keep the darkness buried. If you enjoyed this dive into Germany's forgotten folklore, drop a blood emoji in the comments and tell me which legend you want me to unearth next. Maybe the werewolves of Thuringia? Or the cursed monastery of Wewelsburg? Well, until then, sleep tight and remember, some stories never stay buried. Bye.
Shadows fade where the candle dies. Names forgotten, lost to sky.